So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Winter Circle of August 2022. I am really excited to introduce to you guys our speaker. Her name is Shawna Gilbert. A lot of you guys know her already, but she actually has a new job title. She just got promoted. So congratulations, Shawna. So she is our Senior Vice President of RE/MAX Global Development and Commercial. So we're super excited to have you here. How are you doing this morning, Shawna?
I am great and so honored to be here. I always love when I get asked to be part. Oh, there's me. All I see is myself back. And just honored to be here, because I tell you, I love doing presentations because it allows me the opportunity to learn. Because especially like this message today, I rarely do a presentation twice. It'll be usually when I do it, I'm selecting something, a topic that happens to be relevant right now for the region, whatever it is. And this one specifically, you are my first audience to see what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, perfect. We're excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I love seeing your faces, those of you who are on camera. I'm going to ask, I'll ask a few questions throughout. So I'm going to need to see your responses. So first, I am going to share my screen so we can start. Let me put you guys up here. The old Zoom setup here.
Okay. Yes, we're seeing your screen.
Awesome. Well, I am just trying to figure out where to put you guys so I can see. Okay. So again, thrilled to be here. And the title of the message today, I actually went through about 39 titles just so that if somebody were to see it, they would know exactly what we were talking about today. So we are going to be talking about reinvention, we're going to be talking about adversity, and we're going to be talking about a coffee bean. Sound good to all of you? Okay. So, but before I get up, to be respectful of all your time, if there is anybody on this call who doesn't feel like they need to change in any way, that everything's perfect, life's perfect, your career's perfect, job's perfect, family's perfect, I'm not going to waste your time. Feel free to go ahead and jump off this call. And I'm going to watch and see if anybody jumps. We still have 55 people. So good. It looks like I have the right crowd and the right people that are going to be perfect to hear the message that I have for you today. So the message is about, and it was inspired actually by a meth addict and a convicted felon. So this is, when we talk about reinvention, we talk about transformation. This was a man who in 2009, he was sentenced to 65 years in prison, only to walk out 6 years later, a changed man. He would go on to write 2 books, which I'm going to be talking to you about today. He's a keynote speaker. He's considered a change agent around the world today. His name is actually Damon West. And I first heard about him because I listened to a ton of podcasts and I heard his message, I heard his story, and it really made me want to look into it, dive in, and he really inspired me with his message. And I found hope. I found some space to really reflect on my own circumstances, my own life, and I'm hoping for the 65, not only we didn't lose anybody, we've gained 10, but 65 people who are on this call with the same message, and hopefully you walk away with some thoughts. So we're going to take up likely the whole hour of your time, and I will be very respectful of it. And so let's get into it. And now I have to move you. Okay. So what we're going to cover today, we are going to discuss the concept of reinvention. We're going to talk about adversity and how you can actually find the opportunity in it. And we are going to learn how you can leave from this call and be a coffee bean. So these are some of the most important lessons from today. And the two books that I read that are part of this presentation are The Change Agent and The Coffee Bean. The Coffee Bean, it was about, I think it took me about 16 minutes to read. It's an illustrated story. So even if you don't read that much, you can get through this book very quickly. And The Change Agent is a little bit more detailed on his life, but both incredible books with a lot of important lessons and fundamentals that you're going to take away. And there even is a little sliver of Brian Buffini towards the end that I used a recent presentation that I watched him do to also inspire some of the items that I'm going to have you try to do when you leave. All right, this screen keeps, you guys keep moving in my way. Okay, so reinvention. So an obvious and common example would be the image that I have in front of you here, which is a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, right? In the book, Damon West goes from a meth addict, a convicted felon, to be the author, the motivational speaker, the change agent, influencing people around the world. Now, sometimes it doesn't have to be so dramatic. You don't have to be a drug addict turned, Christian change agent, caterpillar that reinvents itself to something completely opposite. It can be small choices that compound into bigger choices. Now, reinvention is, by definition, the process of which something is changed so much that it appears to be entirely new. Now, have any of you gone through a transformation? Have any of you reinvented yourself? Have any of you seen or know somebody who has done a transformation or a reinvention? Anybody? Now, all of your hands should actually be raised because there is somebody on this call who has gone through a transformation and who has reinvented himself. And I've seen it, and I'm sure you all have seen it, especially if you've known this person for a while. But Ricardo, I'm going to call you out right now because
this is Chandler, and I'll just say, I did do real estate for 10 years in Florida, gosh, almost 20 years ago, and still have my broker's license. But for the last 12 years, I've run a healthcare medical device company in the corporate world, and just recently, in the last few months, decided to buy a RE/MAX franchise in Costa Rica and Pavones and move down and work with the CR team. So that's a pretty big transformation I'm looking forward to in the coming months. I'll be down there officially on August 10th.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing, Chandler. And yes, that you have done a transformation of business, which comes, you're going to have a lot of education, a lot of learnings to do. And so that's also a form of transformation. We look forward to seeing what you do with your new opportunity. Now, the one that I was thinking about is Ricardo. And as you guys have seen, he made a singular choice in his lifestyle. And I'm going to talk to you about it in the way that I've seen it from my eyes. I don't know what the choice of having a drink did to, him personally, to his, family, to his choices, if there was a problem, any of that. I'm seeing it that he made a choice that compounded into, honestly, every time I see you, Ricardo, you look 10 to 20 years younger. You have not only a healthy body, a healthy face, but you have made healthy choices. You eat healthy, you have more energy. I know you get better sleep. You've lost weight, you have a clear and focused mind, and even just seeing what you do in the lifestyle that you've invented yourself, it's incredible, and you should be applauded for the choice you made and the effort that you made and who you've become because of it. Am I off base at all?
Thank you so much, Shawna. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I'm very proud of that. And the thing is, that was my mountain that I had to climb. But every person has a mountain. And for every person, it is a different mountain. For some people, it is maybe they are in their comfort zone. For other people, it is friends that are bringing them down. For other people, is some bad habits, maybe eating habits or drinking habits, whatever it might be. But any mountain that you have to climb, just do it. It is scary at first, but just do it. Everything will improve in your life.
Thank you. Thank you, Ricardo.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the I am who I am. I think many of you have probably heard that phrase, the I am who I am, so I can't change. And there is some truth to that. Who we are and how we display our personality is actually built on a very deep set of beliefs that, many are made while you are a child and don't even know that those beliefs are even being formed. And from those beliefs, you in turn create some values that end up being your foundation of who your persona is. From those beliefs and values, you start to display attitudes based on what you believe and what you value. And to others, what they see from, the base of who you are is your behaviors, right? And they come out as behaviors and they can be changed, but they can be changed both positively or negatively. And this change comes over time. Sometimes we recognize it, sometimes we don't. The more experiences we have makes these changes. The more success we have, the more failures we have, the more jaded we become, the more challenges we face, the more we fail, influences and people that may enter our lives. Really what we hear, what we're seeing, and also what we consume. All of these are creating those behaviors that are being displayed that we can visibly see. Now, another way I like to see this is as an imagery of the cultural iceberg, right? You have what you can see, which is the external and the conscious. So not only what they see, but a lot of what you actually even know about yourself. When you look underneath the water, you're going to see the convictions, your beliefs, your values, your identity. And these are many times unconscious, they're internal, and a lot of people don't see the why you are the way you are, whether because we choose not to let them see, or because we may not even understand ourselves, right? It's the what we are versus the why we are. And it's really fascinating if you think about it, and if you sit and spend some time with yourself to get to know yourself and think through, why you are the way you are and why you make some decisions the way you make decisions. And the only way that you can get under into that iceberg, under that water, is to really understand who you are. And when we talk about reinvention and when we talk about transformation, you have to get below the surface to really understand who you are today and the changes that you need to make. Because that's where the real honesty begins, is way deep in that water. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And when I was trying to think of a way to show you, when in the book, Damon talks about, life in prison and how bad it is, but he makes an interesting comparison to the physical prison to being a mental prison, right? He says that those who live in the free world, those who can make choices on everything that they do, what they do for a living, who we want in our lives, what we want to consume in our body and our minds, that mental prison is way worse than the physical prison that he was put into, right? The reality is that more people in the free world are locked up by things, material things, and our thoughts. The mental prison is the toughest place to do time. Now, the pandemic Let's talk about the pandemic for a second. 2.5 years we've been in this change that, you know, if you don't like change, you've had a really tough 2.5 years. If you don't modify and pivot, if you don't even like the word pivot, you have not had a very good journey in the last 2.5 years. The pandemic actually created a version of prison for so many people I know, people that you know, clients that you've worked with, right? So many new challenges. We've had physical lockups. So not only mental, but physical lockups. Now we've had mental lockups due to isolation. We've had loss of jobs. We've had spiritual warfare. We've had a division of philosophy, right? To get vaccinated, to not get vaccinated. We've had fear, anxiety. Have any of you felt that? Have any of you had the impact of that, both on your person, your family, those close to you, your job? I guarantee that even if you're not raising your hand, you likely have. Now, what if I said to you that having a bad day is actually a choice? Does that sound true or false? That anytime during the day you can actually stop and restart your day? I mean, think about it. Really think about it. When you think about what could actually turn around your very worst day, is it going outside and playing with your kids? Is it eating a bowl of ice cream? Is it exercise, having a drink? Is it calling somebody? Next time you have a bad day, be prepared to think about something or to do something that can help change that mindset. Something that can give you a shot of dopamine that you need. Ideally, something healthy. Do it and carry on with your day and see if you can actually change the trajectory of a bad day. So let's talk about the other side of mental lockup. This is where I fail a lot of the time, and that is overthinking scenarios. How many of you overanalyze situations, right? Think of an outcome and then think of 3, 4, 5, 6 more outcomes that could possibly happen in any scenario. I'm guilty of that. I have 5 potential outcomes for everything that I do, no matter what the situation, whether it's going to the grocery store, picking up my kids, traveling, you name it. But in reality, how often, because you have a spectrum, you have worst case scenario, best case scenario, and everything in between, right? How often is it that the worst case scenario actually happens? Probably not that often, right? Probably not that often. So going down this path and overanalyzing and creating the anxiety and the fear of doing so isn't necessary when you really think about it. All it's doing is creating more of the junk in your head, that mental prison that's keeping you from doing things that you might really want to do and really love. Another way to think about it, and I know some of you have probably seen The Secret or read about The Secret or heard of Jack Canfield's law of attraction, right? It's thinking about life and its circumstances and the whys and why me's. Some people believe it's the law of attraction, right? That you put it out there and you attract into your life whatever you focus on. Whatever you give your energy and your attention, it will come back to you. Whether it's in happiness and relationships, property, health, success, money. If you stay focused on the good and the positive things in your life, you will automatically attract more good and positive things. Right? The theory that your energy and your thoughts is what attracts the same energy to come into our life. It's a manifestation. Like attracts like. Too far-fetched? Anybody believe in the law of attraction? How about just pure luck, the luck factor? If you don't believe in just, putting it out there and manifesting, what about science? You have to believe in science, right? What if I said that in a 10-year scientific study into the nature of luck itself, it revealed that a large extent of people do make their own good and bad luck. The results also show that it's possible to enhance the amount of luck that people encounter in their lives. Those who think they are lucky have more opportunity. They have more opportunity, or do they see more opportunity? Whether it's luck, whether it's the law of attraction, you wouldn't see opportunity if your eyes and your ears weren't open to it. You wouldn't find that $20 bill when you were on a walk if you had your head stuck into your phone and you weren't paying attention to your surroundings, right? If you knew there was an opportunity that you could potentially find a $20 bill if you went for a walk, I guarantee you would go for a walk and you would be looking and you would be searching for it. I can tell you that I would not be at RE/MAX today if it wasn't for me being open and my eyes open to an opportunity to a new job 12 years ago, because I was not looking for a job. I was not actively seeking out a position. And it was a simple email that was sent to me by a girl I had met at a networking event probably a year prior. And the subject line just said, "Great new job opportunity / Denver." If I wouldn't have opened the email, I would not be here with you today. Is that law of attraction? Is it luck? Or is it because I've opened my eyes to the opportunity and it presented itself, right? And not only does it present itself, but you have to act upon it. You have to do something about it. So let me ask you a question. Are you capable of more? I know I am capable of more. And here's how I know that every single one of you on this call is. It's because you are alive, right? Life itself fills us with capabilities that are astounding. People have gone to the moon. They've created pieces of art that have withstood the time. Because you are alive, you are actually capable of doing extraordinary things simply by just being here. The other reason I know is because you have a purpose. Somewhere there's a purpose that's just waiting for you to fill it. Lives are ready to be impacted by the person that you are. Another reason I know is because you're unique. You have a distinct set of talents. You have a distinct set of skills that others need to see. You have characteristics that are yours and yours alone. These are your gift to the world. These are uniquely the things that you can provide. We need your view. We need your way of thinking. We need you to think differently so that you can invent and that you can create. Fourth reason I know is because you can learn, right? I told you I love to do presentations because I love to learn. I love the space to learn and the excuse to learn. The formula for hope is found in goals, the pathway to get those goals, and the means to achieve them. Now you can learn that pathway and you can learn how to achieve them, but you have to put the effort into learning, and you can let your capabilities and those true characteristics come to the surface. And the fifth reason I know is because you are a hero, right? These are very difficult times in so many ways. I just mentioned a few of them on a previous screen, right? So many different ways we can serve. And if we really think about what is it that the world needs today? What does my community need today? What does my family need today? And then take a look at yourself. Look deep inside yourself and see what you have to offer. See what you have to offer and how you can serve. Do you have what's needed to fill the needs of your family, of your community, of the world? Because that's what's needed today. We need people who are living up to their absolute fullest potential. And I plead with all of you to rise and fill those needs. So now that we've talked about reinvention, let's talk about adversity for a minute. So adversity is a state or an instance of serious or continued difficulty or misfortune, right? Anybody have any of that? Any difficulties, any misfortunes? I think all of us, right? In one way or another. The unproductive side to adversity is excuses. The productive side of opportunity is opportunity. You have excuses, you have opportunity. Okay, as the Vice President of Global Development, I actually see a lot of things. I see a lot of challenges. I see a lot of regions who have gone through this pandemic in very different ways. I've seen government intervention, I've seen riots, I've seen struggle, I've seen pain, I've seen markets go crazy, I've seen markets completely closed. But what I did see is I see a lot of those people that I work with taking opportunity to serve in these moments and to serve as stewards within their communities. But I also see the excuses. I see the reasons for not acting, the reasons for not serving. And to be honest, I don't like excuses, because for every person who has an excuse and says that it won't work, there is somebody somewhere who has proved that it can. And I know that's true for me in the position I am with regions. I know that's true with offices, and I know that's true with every single real estate professional who has a business. I've seen it. I've seen it work no matter how hard the challenge is. And don't get me wrong, I am extremely empathetic, and I care deeply for every single one of my clients. But I can't care more for their business or can't care more for them than they care themselves. So with adversity, you know, when we talk about adversity, and as you're thinking in your mind of ways that maybe you've experienced adversity, there are 6 different kinds. There's physical, there's mental, there's emotional, there's social, there's spiritual, and there's financial, right? We all have experienced something in every single one of these categories at some point in our life. You've probably seen 2 people, same challenges, same circumstances, same access to tools and resources, but 2 very different, drastically different outcomes, right? It's because they've handled that adversity differently. One person remained a victim while the other person sought after opportunity. Where are you? Where are you within the spectrum of your adversity? Where do you sit? Where did you sit during the pandemic when, you know, if you got COVID, when you had that adversity, where did you sit? Did you seek opportunity, or were you the victim of the pandemic? Every single piece of adversity comes with choices. But most importantly, it comes with opportunity. So the funny thing about adversity is that to overcome or to find the opportunity in it, you actually have to hit it head on and you have to face it, right? You can't avoid it. You can't pretend it didn't happen or it's not happening. So I wanted to take an extreme example. This is Mike Tyson, right? And this is a fight in 1990. So Mike Tyson, he was the undefeated heavyweight champion. He had a record of 37-0. 33 of those were knockouts. And he was set to fight the underdog Buster Douglas in Tokyo. Okay. When I say you don't need to win all your fights, but you must face them on and fight them, underdog Buster Douglas, 42-1 odds, bet on Tyson, right? Everybody believed that Tyson was going to win. Okay, imagine him walking into the ring, knowing he was not the favorite, knowing the adversity. He was physically going to get beat up. by an undefeated world champion. He was taller, arguably slower, but he was not afraid. He studied what Tyson did. He studied the way that he fought. He studied how he was able to win. He refused to let Tyson come inside of his circle where he was the deadliest, where he would come in and just beat his opponents because he was so close to them. He trained, he walked in with confidence, and in the 10th round, he went 10 rounds with Tyson, and the round was called. Buster won by knockout after the 10th round. So when I say you may not win every single fight, but you have to fight it, this is an extreme example of what I mean. And in the book, Damon talks about how many fights he actually had when he was in prison. And the only way to separate yourself was to take on every single fight and to show people who you were and have the confidence to be alone while you're in prison. So now your ability to create the reality you want is determined by your willingness to experience its opposite. I actually saw this in a video, and when you sit on it and think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense, right? While you're saving money, you're going to feel broke. You can't do the things you want to do, but it's making you rich. When you're setting boundaries, you will have a feeling that you're alone while you're creating new healthy relationships in your life. Digging up trauma will have you feeling broken when it's actually healing you. Working out, do I have anybody here who works out? It makes you feel weak, right? When you first start, you feel so weak, your muscles hurt. And if you keep doing it, it makes you strong. Learning something new might actually make you feel dumb, but it's making you smarter. So when you think about adversity and think about the things you have to overcome, you are going to be uncomfortable. You are going to hurt. It is going to be painful, but you have to do it to get to the other side. So now that we've talked about reinvention, we've talked about adversity, let's talk a little bit about being a coffee bean. Okay, and why this matters. So here's the story. So Damon West, while in prison, he had a fellow inmate who gave him this fable, gave him this lesson of the carrot, the egg, and the coffee bean. So I'll ask you to think about what happens if I have a pot of boiling water and I have a carrot and I put the carrot inside the pot. What happens to that carrot? And then if I do the same with the egg, what happens to the egg? And when I put in a coffee bean, what happens to the water around it? The carrot softens, the egg will harden, but the coffee actually changes the water around it, right? So think about the physical, the mental, emotional, social, spiritual, and financial adversity in your life. That's your pot of boiling water. And you're feeling the heat coming from expectations from others, the expectations that you have of yourself. Maybe your marriage is failing. Maybe you have challenges within your family, your kids, whatever your circumstance, that is your big pot of boiling water. And you have a choice. You can be like the carrot and you can get weakened by your surrounding environment. You can be like the egg and you can get hard and tough and separate and be hardened by your environment. Or you can be a coffee bean and you can actually transform the environment around you. Simple lesson. But the coffee bean will actually overcome its challenges and it will change the world. No matter how hard things get or how hopeless things look, don't ever give up. Realize that we don't create our world from the outside in, right? We create and transform it from the inside out. So if you think you're a carrot, you will believe the power and forces outside of you are actually more powerful than who you are inside, and you will become weaker. If you think you are the egg, you will believe the negativity that's in your life. You will believe the things that you're reading, the things that you're hearing, and it will harden your heart and it will cause you to be negative, just like the world. But if you're that coffee bean, that single coffee bean, you will not allow the outside world to affect you. You will know your internal personal power inside, and you'll know that it's greater than the forces outside. And with this insight, you will transform your environment and you will change the world from the inside out. So I bet your next question is, how do I become a coffee bean? So let's talk about some things that you need to do the second that we get off this call. Number one, and this is lesson one that he talks about, is positive body language, right? How can I impact those around me? How you look, how you walk, how you stand. Are you closed? Are you open? Do you infect or do you affect, right? Think about, are you approachable? Are you unapproachable? Number two, work out every single day in these three categories: spiritually, mentally, physically. To be fulfilled as a complete person, these three ways, every single day, you have to do something within each of these buckets. You need to, whatever you believe spiritually, whatever you believe, you need to spend 10 minutes of your time. It can be simply finding something that you are grateful for and thinking about it in the morning. It can be a simple prayer. Personally, a prayer that Damon says and that I've actually put into my own life is every single morning I say, put in front of me the things you want me to see and let me recognize it when I see it. It can be as simple as that. Whatever your spirituality, spend some time with it every single day. Mentally, what you consume, and I know you've heard this, but we still don't do anything about it. What you consume, what you read, what you follow, who you follow, what you post, the company that you keep, those 5 closest people next to you, what you put in your brain, that is all going to be projected on the outside, right? If it's not enriching your life, it's holding you back. And physically, what are you doing and what are you consuming? And when I say, what are you doing to work out? What are you doing to physically get your body moving and in motion, right? Spiritually, mentally, physically. And lesson 3 is to be a servant leader. Listen more, talk less. And that is listen receptively and not non-judgmentally, right? Be more interested in hearing the viewpoints of others than having your voice heard and be the loudest in the room. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. Appreciate and value others. Value people and appreciate them for who they are and where they are, not just for what they can give to you or your organization, but be committed first and foremost to the people around you. Number 3 is to be humble, have humility, put other people first. Leadership in general is not about you, right? It's about things that are accomplished through others. Number 4 is trust. Give trust to others. Now, I know this is harder for some than others, but be willing to take this risk for the people that you serve. Be trusted because you are authentic and dependable. And number 5, you have to care. Have people and purpose in your heart. Display kindness every opportunity that you can get. Be concerned for others. Be here to serve, not to be served. Truly, truly care about the people you serve. Now, time is one of those most precious resources. We all have the exact same amount, right? I have 24 hours, you have 24 hours in a day, but it's all in what we use that 24 hours to do that impacts the results that we get. We need to stop wasting time on what we can't control, and we need to make the most out of the 4 areas that we can. Now, what we can control, what we think, what we say, what we feel, and what we do, right? That's it. We can't control what others say, feel, do, or think. All we can control is what we think, what we say, what we feel, what we do. So why does any of this matter, right? Why did I feel that this topic is so relevant right now? Why did I feel I needed to create these 27 slides to share with you all today? Right? Because people are tired. The people I serve, the people I love are not only tired, but so many of them are depleted. I'm seeing how we all are moving and the things that the choices that we're making, the things that we're doing. Our tanks are empty, right? We are on empty. We aren't balancing well. We're not choosing well. We're not picking the ways to use our time and our abilities the best way that gives our lives the best reward. And because of all of this, our quality of life is suffering. I mean, people are suffering. And when we suffer, those around us suffer too, right? We can't give if our tanks are empty. So I'm here with the 102 of you today, hoping that something from this message sticks, because we need to fill our tanks so that we can be the coffee bean and that we can affect others. So let's talk about a few next steps and what you can actually do right now, the second that you get off of this call with me. So I'm a visual learner, right? I like to tie things in with an image that I can relate to. So a sanitation worker, right, takes out the trash. We need to be our own sanitation workers, and we need to take out the trash, right? We need to clean out our mind of the trash that's in it, the junk we don't need, the junk that's holding us back. Take it out, right? Look at all the resentments that we have. The opposite of resentment is actually forgiveness, right? Let's take it out. Let's let go of our hate, because hate corrodes the containers that it's in. Let's throw it away. What junk is consuming your time? What are you watching? What are you scrolling through? What are you taking in? Take it out. Get rid of the things that aren't productive and making you the best person that you can possibly be. So let's look at what you consume, what you read, what you watch, and who you surround yourself with, right? Take a look at all of that and get rid of the things that aren't moving you forward. No excuses, right? We don't like excuses. We like taking advantage of opportunity. So this is the piece where Brian Buffini inspired me to include. So I took a master class from Brian when he came in to Denver a few months ago. And I love this visual simulation because what he had us do in the moment, and I would encourage you to do the same thing right now. I'm going to give you a minute to do it because I want you to think about it in this moment, and then I want you to act on it when we get off this call, right? So I want you to grade your buckets 1 to 10. Where do you sit spiritually? Where do you sit with your family relationships? Where do you sit with your business? Where do you sit financially? And where do you sit personally? If you were to grade yourself in these 5 areas of your life, what would you give yourself? from a 1 to a 10. Just quickly, I know if you're in the car, don't worry about doing this exercise. Keep your eyes on the road, but think about it in your head. But where do you sit? You know, and when I was doing this exercise in class, I wanted to hide my book, right? I had people around me and one person from my team was around me. And I wanted to hide my book because I didn't want them to see the places in which I was struggling. The places in my life that were, you know, in some I had a 4 and a 5. And that's okay. You know what? When we are first able to accept that this is actually happening, that's the only way that you're going to be able to make that change and move. Right? So where do you sit? I'm going to give you a minute to do this exercise, 1 to 10. Where do you sit inside of these buckets? Okay. So think about it. Okay, so hopefully you all have done it and can think through where you sit. So in it, set a goal. So where you sit, the goal is to not go from a 5 to a 10, right? It's not to go from a 2 to a 10. We talked about the compound effect, and we talked about setting yourself up so you go from a 1 to a 2 or a 2 to a 3. Though that small change that you make actually makes a huge impact in the end. We're talking going from a 6 to a 7. You know, if you only change in one of these buckets, that's okay too. But think about it. So start making some goals. Buffini had a 10-day goal, a 10-month, and a 5-year. I don't know about you, but it's really hard for me to think about 5 years from now, what I'm going to be doing or thinking, or, you know, hopefully I've already transformed myself or reinvented myself so that it doesn't even matter anymore what I made a goal today about. But so set your goal for a 10-day, a 10-week, and a 10-month. And don't just write them and walk away and forget about them, because I promise that you won't do it if you don't revisit what you want to do. So your 10-day goal, what does it look like? Write down the one thing that you want to change. And in 10 days, what are you going to accomplish? Right? You want to change your lifestyle. You want to change the way that you eat or how healthy you are. Spend 10 days researching the foods that you want to eat, the exercise program that you're going to implement, hire a trainer. In 10 days, you are set and ready to go, so that at your 10-week, you've started to see the results of what that goal is. I promise you, just like we talked about Ricardo before, if you change something on the health side, it changes and affects so much around you. The fuzziness in your brain, the relationships that you have with people. Think about where you can make the smallest change, but have the biggest impact. And then the second part of this, I would encourage you to find somebody who's going to help you be accountable. It can be somebody who's on this call, can be somebody that's close to you. Tell them what your goals are, the why you want this goal, and tell them to check in with you in 10 days, in 10 weeks, and in 10 months. Because when you have an accountability partner, stuff gets done. You know you have to do it because somebody's going to be checking in. Okay, be committed to make these changes for you, not for anybody else. Other people will be impacted, but these changes need to be made because you want to make them. So I'm going to leave you with these last 2 slides. The past is your lesson, the present is your gift, and the future is your motivation. Right? Let go of the past, take the present for what it is, and let the future be what motivates you to do better and to be better. And lastly, to revisit the coffee bean, I want you to remember this lesson for the rest of your life. Wherever you go and whatever you do, remember every single one of you, 101 of you, are a coffee bean, and you do have the power to transform the environment you are in. But to do that, you have to make those changes. To do that, you have to know that no matter how hard things get or how hopeless things get, don't give up. We don't create the world from the outside in. We create it from the inside out. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. It was a truly an honor to share in the winner circle with winners from the region, leaders from the region. I hope you got something that you can take away, something that you're going to do, something that you're going to start to do the second that we hang up on the Zoom. So thank you all. I'll turn it back over to you, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Shawna. That was amazing. And I don't want to add anything because I don't want to ruin it. You did such a good job. Thanks again for being here with us. And if anybody has any questions for Shawna, we'll steal another 5 minutes of your time, Shawna, if that's okay.
Pleasure.
Anybody has any questions, but it was awesome. Thank you so much, Shawna.
I haven't seen any questions in the chat, but I have never seen the chat blow up like it did during the session. So people are loving it. Will you share the presentation, the slide deck?
Absolutely. I'll send it to you the second we hang up. Happy to have it. And I do hope sincerely that you do something the second that we step off this call. If you don't, it goes away. Life happens. Things get busy and we don't look back, right? If you don't do something with it, it's gone forever.
Definitely. Thank you so much. The recording will be available. Oh, sorry. The recording will be available in Reconnect as well as the slide deck in the next 24 to 48 hours. So just so everyone knows.
Thank you so much, Shawna. This was very good. There was a lot of meat in this message. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. There was a lot, but just even if you take one thing.
Muchísimas gracias. Una alimentación espectacular.
Muchas gracias.
She said that, thank you so much. It was like food for the brain. It was awesome.
Thank you very much from Guatemala.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I'm so sorry if you heard little people, they're not in school. So I had the distraction outside of the door and at times in the door. So thank you for being patient with me.
We couldn't tell it all. So that was
perfect. 2.5 years on Zoom with them. I figured it out.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I think we're good. So thank you everybody for being here, and we will see you guys in September.
Sounds
all
good.
right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Happy Friday. We love you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Honor to be with you today. Sincerely.